URC run number 17, folks, has just wrapped up with a Sunday game. So let's have a look back at the penultimate round and see where the teams are sitting. There were some pretty big results for the teams whose jerseys I am either wearing or hanging, because there is still a real chance for the teams down until 10th to make the top 8. Everybody from 11th down pretty much dead and buried with one round to go, but it wasn't the case. There were still so many teams alive in week 17. Now, my in-laws have just arrived yesterday, so I'm not going to edit in the scores and stuff because I need to help out around the house and drop kids at school and stuff, so forgive me for that one, but yeah, we'll get on with the wrap-up. Back on Friday, the Sharks cemented their top 4 spot with a big win over the Ospreys. Tries through Jenkins, Esterhuizen, Hooker, and Buthelezi. Sam Perry got the 1 try for the Ospreys. So that's the Ospreys season done and dusted with that one. The Ospreys did score first in that game with a penalty, but 2 tries to the Sharks. Meant 14-3 is a comfortable enough lead, but certainly not game over. The Maul try to parry made it 21-10, so kind of same deal. Like close enough that it's not fully dead and buried, but still not really close enough to be that much of a threat. And then Buthelezi got the bonus point try for the Sharks at the 63rd minute. So comfortable enough for the Sharks. Turnovers conceded, though, pretty high in that game. I don't know if it's Durban or what, but it seems to be a thing. It's 18-14, which is pretty much higher than every other game this week. Fair bit of kicking. The Sharks scored a couple of tries from kicks as well. So, yeah, they're looking pretty good value for their top 4 spot. Weirdly, the Sharks, they're still such a strange team. They're in the top 4. They've got a stacked team, and you still feel like they could be doing better. I don't know what it is about them. Jack Morgan, new Lion, still looks cracking. He's the top tackler for the Ospreys and won 3 turnovers in that game. Andre Esterhuizen was going beast mode with the amount of defenders beaten he got. He was top with 5. So, yeah, good win for the Sharks. And as I said, sadly, that is the Ospreys season done. Second game's the one I did the full match review for. Ospreys. Munster up against Ulster. Good send-off for a bunch of Munster veterans for their Thomond Park send-off. Murray and Omani and Archer. 38-20, though, in the scheme of things, was a very important one for the season, because that means Munster's still in the top 8, but it's by no means secure with 1 round to go. Ulster's season is now done and dusted, though. There's another half where Ulster just can't score points in the second half. They're a bizarre side to watch. You're kind of a frustrating side to watch. Some rudderless, which is the word I used in the review. Just aimless, seemingly lacking direction play from Ulster. Whereas Munster, I don't want to take anything away from them. Really, really solid on defence. Tom Farrell scored a couple. Peter Omani got the biggest cheer of the night when he scored his try, plucking the ball from out of the air. That was fantastic. Byrne got one from a charge down. Milner got his first Munster try as well. Scannell got one from a maul. So bonus point win for the Munster lads. Very, very important in the scheme of things. And as I said, just look pretty comfortable. I mean, Izzy Chukwu looks good for Ulster. Genuinely. Cracking at line out, makes a bunch of tackles. Very disruptive of the Munster line. The Munster line out is the one key area they will be concerned about going into the final round, but you won't come up against an Izzy Chukwu every week. But yeah, he was certainly the bright spark on what was a pretty bad evening for the Ulster lads. But yeah, well done to Munster. Keeps their hopes alive. As I said, fitting Thomond farewell for those guys. And yeah, still in the playoff hunt with 1 round to go. Bulls beat Cardiff, and Cardiff dropped out of the top 8 with that loss. They couldn't quite get themselves that 4th try. If they had, Cardiff, they would still be in the playoffs, just barely. But without the bonus point, they have slipped out 45 points to 21. Cardiff in this game conceded 6 penalties, which is pretty low, but 4 of them were to their props. Yeah, the Bulls forward pack is still looking pretty menacing. They get tries through Forster, Lowe, Moody, Hanekom. De Klerk bagged a couple. I mean, Willie LaRue set up 3 tries in this game. He was absolutely pulling the strings like we know he can. Willie, what was it? For Moody, it was a kick. There was another one that was a pass for the 2 passes for De Klerk in the second half. Goodness me. Yeah, he was on absolute fire, still rolling back the clock. That guy, Hanekom, has got brutal power from the back of the scrum. It was 29-0 at halftime. So more or less game over. If there's any one thing that's concerning from a Bulls point of view, it's how they were outscored try-wise by the Cardiff guys in the second half. Teddy Williams and Hammer Webb got tries in the second half. So 3 tries to 2 in the second half, with Cardiff scoring the 3. So that's the one area that I guess if you're the Bulls, you'll be looking at and thinking, did we take our foot off the gas a little bit? You know, when you're heading into the playoffs, you need to be ruthless and basically keep the foot on the throat for the entire 80. So 45-21, I don't take anything away from the Bulls. They're still the second top side in the URC. They are looking an absolute threat. And Cardiff, 3 tries, not quite enough for the bonus. The next one, Benetton and Glasgow. I swear since Glasgow got hammered by Leinster in the Champions Cup, they have looked a shadow of themselves. They scraped by, against Zebre, and then they've had a couple of losses. 33-7. They were favourites going into this one when I looked at the bookies odds. I looked at the lineups and thought, should be a better game than the odds suspect, but 33-7, that is concerning for Glasgow, but cracking for Benetton. They really needed a win as well in terms of their playoff campaign. O'Dogle got one in the corner. Miley got one from close range, which wasn't a kind of double movement. Rhino Smith got one. Menoncello got the bonus point. Umar got the icing on the cake one. And just the 1 try for Hugh Jones for Glasgow. Yeah, it really seems to have knocked their confidence that Leinster lost. This is the reigning champion side, struggling at the moment. I mean, there's still some standout players. And Benetton's a good team. Benetton sometimes get, kind of looked down upon because they do have the odd, they were down in South Africa recently and did not look good. But they're ultimately a team which is stacked full of international players and can play really well. And they showed that. Great weather, great crowd, fully entertained, I'm sure, the spectators who went to that game in Treviso. But, Lorenzo Canone, 21 tackles. Proper standout. I mean, Rory Darge broke 10 tackles, which is insane. But, they only scored the 1 try. The Glasgow lads, which is very concerning, like I said, because they're usually a much more, attacking-minded and secure side, where it was Benetton who was certainly putting on all the entertainment in terms of just getting the ball wide and Rhino Smith and, pure entertainment from Benetton. Speaking of that, the Stormers are also playing some bloody entertaining rugby, admittedly against the Dragons. We do have to take a moment to say it's the Dragons who are genuinely miles behind everyone else. The Dragons are on 9. The next best team is on 29. So the Dragons are genuinely the worst team by some way in the URC. But the Stormers didn't miss a beat. The Stormers put them to the sword. 48 points to 12. Similani bookended the game with tries to start and finish. I mean, his steps are fantastic. When that guy looks good, he looks really good. Sinatla, Ungura, Willemse, Hartzenberg, De Vet, they scored some very nice tries, the Stormers. They could be, put it this way, I don't think anyone's going to want to draw the Stormers going into the knockout stages because they really seem to be finding form at the right time. They still feel like a team which could just drop the ball at any time. I'm not 100% convinced by the Stormers. They worry me a bit. But, that's why I say they could win an away game in the knockout stages quite easily, I think, because they got a really stacked team. And unlike Glasgow, they seem to be kind of finding form at the right time. Wainwright and Black got the 2 tries for the Dragons. But, I mean, some of the hands from the Stormers, guys, was it 14 offloads in this game? 14 offloads. Even Joseph Dweber, who's got his critics, but he chucked the ball wide for a offload for the Sinatla try? Yeah, it was only 14-0 at half time, but yeah, they really, really pulled away in this one. There was also a kind of bizarre yellow card. Was it a croc roll? I don't really know what it was. They didn't like one of the clean-outs. I only saw the highlights of this game, so that one was a bit hard to tell. But Willems and 9 defenders beaten. Murat, top tackler with 12. Some good performances from the Stormers guys. And, like I said, I think people aren't going to want to face them going into the knockout stages. Leinster and Zebre. 76-5. I feel like Leinster maybe had a bit of pent-up rage from the Champions Cup and took that out on Zebre, the second from bottom team, 76-5 is genuinely insane. 38-0 at halftime. 2 minutes to get on the board. Conan to Kelleher for the first one. Geordie Barrett bagged a couple. Osborne bagged a couple. We don't need to go through all of them because 76-5. A lot of people saying, I noticed, about how, why did they save Geordie Barrett to face Zebre instead of starting him in the Champions Cup? Maybe that's a fair point, because he did look pretty good in this game. Yeah, there's a lot of pressure on Leinster to win the URC this season, and if that's a statement of intent. That's reminding teams we're still pretty good, because nobody's beaten Zebre by that much. I know it's only Zebre. They are the second from bottom team, but they're only a win, one bonus, or just over a bonus point win away from the likes of Connacht and the Lions. So they're not Dragons bad this year, despite the 76-5 scoreline. Conan, 5 defenders beaten. Baird, 4 defenders beaten. Josh van der Fleer, 3 defenders beaten. He had a really nice fend for one of his tries. JC beat a bunch of defenders. He was top for the match, but 76-5, there's not much to write home about from a Zebre point of view. Connacht lost to Edinburgh. Big win for Edinburgh, keeps their hopes alive. They're still out of the playoffs, but they needed a win here, and they got it, 31-21. She was locked up for a fair while this game. Edinburgh scored 2, Connacht scored 2. So it was 14 all, it was 21 all, but it's the final say to the Edinburgh lads. I mean, tries through Schoeman, Watson, Munster, and Shields. Shields won at the end, is the try of the game. This is is that the game of the week, that one? Maybe the Munster Ulster one, but I mean, just that one in terms of the pure drama at the end. Like, you just think he's going to box kick, and he just goes, puts the hammer down, swerves through the Connacht defenders. It is brutal, but it's a hell of a win for Edinburgh. They got tries to Tracy and Bolton, 3 second-half tries for Connacht after being down 14-0 at half-time. But, yeah, Edinburgh's season certainly kept alive with that one, much needed. Hamish Watson, 17 tackles, rolling back the clock. That guy gets a try. Not bad. So, penalty count, 16-8 against Connacht is kind of a tough one. When you're conceding double the penalties of your opponent, you're going to be on the back foot for much of the game. Final one this morning over here in New Zealand was like 1 a.m, so I didn't watch it live. The Lions, can they do the sweep for the Australian? South African sides over the Welsh teams? No. The Lions are dead and buried now, and the Scarlets are up in 6th, but by no means secure in their playoff spot with this win over the Lions. Bonus point win, 32-19. What is going on with the Lions? They got 3 tries. Oh, was it 4? 3. Stain and 2 to Creel. Yeah, 3 tries. And then Murray got 2 to open the scoring. Blair Murray, Kiwi connection. Tame Plumtree, Kiwi connection, gets 1. And then Johnny Williams with the bonus point 1 on 72 minutes. So, bunch of yellow cards in this game. 14-0 lead for the Scarlets. Costello with a nice drop goal in this game. That is a very, very important win. Because, like I said, the Scarlets, I don't know if they were totally written off for that game. They were certainly underdogs. And their season basically depended on them getting points in South Africa. And this was the game to do it, because the next game is looking harder. So they've given themselves a shout at the playoffs. I would love to see a Welsh team in there, because it doesn't feel right when there's no representation from one of the kind of groups in the knockout stages of the URC. Admittedly, the Creel try made it 22-19, so it was game on. The Lions weren't like dead and buried the entire game, but the Scarlets guys just kind of took it away from them. How are things looking on the table after all but one round? Leinster are still miles ahead on 72 points, so if anyone else is going to win the URC, somebody needs to win away at Leinster. The Bulls are second, Glasgow third, and the Sharks have secured their top 4 spot, like I mentioned, in 4th, because the gap between them and the Stormers is 8 points. Stormers are on 50. Scarlets are only 2 points behind them on 48. But then if you look at this real logjam, Benetton 46, Munster 46, Cardiff 46. Cardiff are out of the playoffs on 46. Edinburgh's on 44, also out of the playoffs, and then that's the cutoff because the Ospreys are too far behind on 38. Everyone else, Ulster, Lions, Connacht, Zebre, and the Dragons are done. I was giving the Lions grief a couple of weeks ago for not looking for a bonus point in their game. They were just looking for the win. What doesn't matter. It's not going to come down to the final week for the Lions. So the big games, Edinburgh is home to already out of the playoffs Ulster. Ulster's road record this season has been bad, so Edinburgh will be favourites for that one. That could get them up into 48 or 49 points. Cardiff are away to the Stormers, which I'm going to say is looking tough right now, Cardiff. So I would say your guys' chances of sneaking back up are pretty low. And then Benetton and Munster, whoever wins that one is going to stay in because someone can leapfrog the other one. They're in 7th and 8th. The loser of that game may indeed be out unless both Cardiff and Edinburgh lose their game. So that one is pretty much like a pre-knockout knockout game between Munster and Benetton. The Scarlets as well with their away game to the Sharks. That looks like a tough prospect. But 48 points might be enough. It just depends on how other results go their way. So we will see. We will see how things go. I am enjoying this kind of build up to the final round for the URC. It's interesting when the final week has multiple teams that can win it. You guys let us know your thoughts. Apologies, there's no scores and whatnot. I had to do this one in one take because the in-laws are here. I need to go take the kids to school and help out with a few things. But yes, you guys take care, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.